All right, VeeFam, what's up? I am Mr. Messer. I'm here with another very special guest on the VeeFam sessions. I'm here with Jaydev. Jay, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I can't thank you enough for coming on, and I think you're fresh off of your role covering the Good Morning at VeeFriends Twitter Spaces show. How was that to start?
That was a very nice. It was a lot of fun. It was also a great learning experience. So Sal hosts his morning spaces. Good Morning VeeFriends, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. That was his thing. That's how I got introduced to the community, by the way. I bought my VeeFriends, and so I'm going to take you back a little bit back on the story, right? I bought my VeeFriends, thankfully at Mint, got a very rare Heart Trooper at Mint. That was one of the most blessed things that I could do, and that's also my biggest regret, which is buying only one. So
yeah.
From that point onwards, I kind of I minted, and I was aware of the Discord. I was aware of things happening, but I didn't know how active and engaged the community was. And I was busy as a filmmaker. I was busy with developing a VR project, so I was a bit caught up with other things. And then that kind of fell to the railings and didn't get financing and didn't go through. And then I had a little bit of time on my hands, and I was introduced to these spaces. At that time, it was in Clubhouse that Sal used to host. And so I started joining in every morning. I did photography, and so, I still do photography, but one of the things is, you upload all your footage back up on hard drives, look through pictures, those things I could do, and I would have the Clubhouse going on in the background, and just, that was my entry into the community and how awesome and engaged everyone was and just supportive and all the love. So, been part of it for a year, and then Sal wanted to take some time off, so he took off for a week, and I just volunteered to step in, and so I've been hosting now. That it's called Good Morning VeeFriends. It happens on Twitter Spaces now, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. And yeah, was able to step in for him for a week. It was fun because it kept the ritual alive for me, the tradition, which has just been waking up and kind of 9 a.m., just when I'm trying to get my day started, just hearing from my VeeFriends, saying good morning to each other, positive vibes, and just discussing whatever's going on. We discuss VeeFriends, we discuss life in general, whether it's the market, the NFT market, the crypto market, the economy in general, or to what's going on in people's lives. We're talking about someone's son graduating, we're talking about family life, and we're talking about drinking more water and being healthy. So it ranges from everything. So learned a lot from other people, got deeper into some connections, and also understood what a huge responsibility it is to host and be there, and what it takes to navigate that conversation and just make sure that it's a welcoming room for everyone to come in and speak.
I love that. And, all of the feedback, I got to listen in for a second. Usually it's not the easiest hour for me, but I know the sentiments were that you did a phenomenal job and just were a complete natural. So yeah, thanks for, anytime anyone could just pass the torch and keep anything alive, especially within such a tight-knit community, is amazing. So thanks for doing that. And so with that, and I know I want to take a step back, but while we're on the topic, what was the most surprising or kind of eye-opening thing about hosting a space that maybe it wasn't on your radar before, but then after you stepped into it, it was oh, okay, I got to make sure I have this covered?
I think the two things would be the time commitment it requires, because sometimes when I was just tuning in as a listener and an occasional speaker, you can tune in and out,
yeah.
I could go in and make a second cup of coffee and come back. I could, if I needed to focus in on something, I could tune out for a bit, hone in for if I need to send a pressing email in the morning, hone in on that and then go back. But this requires a lot more of your attention to be there. And to be present in the moment and be mindful. So the time commitment and the attention it requires to actually host a room and be there as a host was something new I learned.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. So we jumped a little bit ahead, and I know you mentioned some things. You have quite a vast resume and skill set. So for the listeners, could you just give us a quick 55-second, maybe who you are, what you do, pre Web3?
Yeah, pre-Web3, I'm a filmmaker and a storyteller by heart, right? That's I studied business and film at the University of Miami and came out just making movies and just fell in love with it. You know, worked in a bank, hated it, made movies, fell in love with it. Have been doing that, you know, professionally on and on. Have had a couple movies, feature films, indie feature films that I worked on in Miami that have now made it to HBO. So that had been a nice thing to see. But those were working on other people's projects. Since then, took a little bit of a turn and started working on some of my own projects. So now I work as a freelance video producer, but always making a film on the side and trying to be creative that way.
Amazing. And this is Cariño. Am I saying that right?
Yes. Cariño was the last film we made. It's a Spanish word for saying, like, you know, like a sweetheart or dear. So Cariño comes in that way. It's really a Miami film because, you know, you have a little bit of English, you have a little bit of Spanish in there, and like a blend of cultures and colors.
I love that. So that one premiered at Miami this past spring. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct. And in fact, like, so here's like, firstly, I love your logo, and you can kind of see how much I love the colors of pink and purple.
Yeah.
Because you can see those in the film.
Sure, I saw that.
I was responsible for making the poster, so had some fun doing that with those colors.
So let's stay there for a second, because out of college, my first I got a degree in marketing and PR, and I love film, and I thought, you know, all throughout college I wanted jobs in film, and I ended up getting some PR jobs on that side, marketing, and did Toronto, worked Santa Barbara, a lot of film festivals. So I was on that side. But for you, I mean, just give us a little couple minutes on what that whole experience was like. You work hard on this thing, this project, and now you finally get to see it. You get to show it to the world. So what was that like?
Yeah. So firstly, it's a pandemic project. So we, you know, had to make it, like, all our writing sessions were on Google Hangouts, you know, and we had to come together for 5 days to make it. And then after that, once the editing process was also, everyone was far away. Our director's from Mexico, right? I'm currently based in the Caribbean, in Curacao. And we made this film in Miami with one of our producers who was there, and like the actors and everything. We know each other from having been at the same University of Miami together. So we came together, we made this film, we went back to our own homes that way. And so any version of this film we had always seen behind a laptop screen kind of thing, and apart from each other. So I eventually had a few screenings on hooked it up with HDMI cable to my TV. But at the Miami Film Festival, when it premiered, that was a chance for us to see it on the big screen. And I was very nervous. We were when they film, so Cariño is a short film. When they schedule in short films, they schedule in a program of short films. So they will fill up 90 minutes filled with short films. We were the last film in this program. So we had the honor to be last, and the nervousness that goes along with it, because I had never seen this on the big screen, and I'm sitting there nervous. It's not my first movie that's up on a big screen, but you know, you still feel nervous about it.
I can imagine, yeah.
Sound worked, you know, because like the other movies, I can hear water droplets, and the sound is so crisp, because the theater going experience is a whole different experience. And once it started playing, and you know, it's a romantic comedy, so once the first joke hit and everyone laughed, then I had a huge sigh of relief, like, okay, we're in this experience.
Amazing. Yeah, that's got to be so, just like out of body experience to be able to share that shared viewing with the public, and to have people react emotionally to something you put, you know,
we had the family and friends of the actors involved, the crew was there, us, like the core team of writing, like the people that I wrote with and produced with. They were there, and you know, it just felt like it was a great, like a family bonding experience of like watching it with everyone there.
Fantastic. So to take it back a little, let's go back in time. When was the first time you heard the name Gary Vee?
I heard Gary Vee in 2017 in a Facebook video from Goldcast, and they just normally give you like montages of motivational things and speakers. And it just, whatever Gary Vee was saying made sense, you know, like there's no need to complain, like gratitude, and having like, and a little bit of the hustle part of it, like, you know, hey, you know, if you want something, you don't go for it, work on different times, and you know, work, you know, and just go at it. So that message struck with me, and I was I was just watching it like casually, and then I was like, wait a second, who is this guy? And then I found it. It was like, okay, Gary Vaynerchuk, followed him, and then the videos like flooded my feed. At that time, it was Facebook and Instagram, more on Instagram. Since then, I've been catching him on Twitter and TikTok, and it's been a wonderful journey since.
So you were a pretty avid follower of him.
Yes.
And so flash forward to May 5th, or the week of May 5th of 2021. He's telling people to get their Ethereum and get the wallet ready and the MetaMask and the whole thing. Now, where are you on your crypto journey at that point? Was he the one that onboarded you, or did you have experience with crypto and any of this stuff before him?
No, 100% onboarded into crypto and NFTs through Gary Vee. In February of 2021, I went to one beginner's course of like, hey, introducing cryptocurrencies and what they are. So at that point, I knew like, okay, heard of Bitcoin, and then then I knew like Ethereum is second, and what USDC and USDT stand for. So I just knew basic preliminary knowledge that these things exist. And luckily in those months of March, April leading up to it, when Gary Vee, he started tweeting about NFTs and like what's going on, like it came on my radar because look, he provided me a lot of value before. As I said, if I'd followed him from 2017, one of the things I did was I was able to use those marketing tips that practical marketing tips that he did, like he would mention, and I've used them for my parents have a retail business, was able to start using it there.
Okay.
And was able to help there. And I was like, oh, that worked. Like Facebook and Instagram ads, they worked. Like it really helped the business, and since then kind of had missed the boat on when he said TikTok in 2019, had missed the boat then, started doing it in 2020. But like if you were there in 2019, it made a difference. Sure. So when he mentioned NFTs and things, I did not want to miss it. So, got my education in, watched a lot of YouTube videos, fell asleep to watching like what Ethereum is and like what it can do. And I had really had to like listen to it 2 or 3 times for it to make sense.
Same.
And thankfully he pushed the date, because like May 5th, I was not ready. The Ethereum was still transferring.
Oh, really?
From the crypto exchange I had, which at that point, like from Binance to like MetaMask, it was still transferring. But by May 11th, I was ready.
It's so funny to, throughout hearing these conversations and talking to people, just how that little change affected people so differently. Some people it saved them, like you, because for transactions or wiring money in from other places but for me, in my case, a lot of people, like Ethereum was going up. It was up on the rise during that week, and I was already kind of on the cusp of like, how am I going to do this? So that like put me out of reach at that point. But that's a story for another day. So you, at the end of the day, were able to mint that Heart Trooper?
I was. It was a very interesting day for me as well, because on May 11th, I was scheduled for surgery. Nothing too intense, but it was just like, it was scheduled to happen. And so 8 o'clock, I'm in the hospital. By 11 o'clock, I'm under anesthesia. By 2 p.m., I'm awake and like alive and like, okay, functioning. And they were like, at 5 p.m. they let me go. And so 5:30, I like walk into my house, and by 5:55, I was like ready in front of my computer, like ready to mint.
Wow, that's a day. That's a
day.
full day.
Yeah. I mean, and then there was a little bit more, because that's when the Dutch auction started, and I waited. There were 2 very rare Heart Troopers on sale, so I kind of was watching both. The moment one would go, I would click purchase on another, and it ended up happening, I guess, technically the next day over, or whenever before the Dutch auction ended.
Gotcha. So obviously we didn't really have any idea what these characters were. We didn't know what VeeFriends was. We never heard that before the website opened up. Now, did you kind of really get in deep and study, the rarities and, we have their specs and the different characters, or were you just kind of looking around for what you liked?
I knew what the rarities were, and I knew what was out of my range, and specs were out of my range. And I had about 2 ETH ready to go. And so I was like, okay, if I could, I was going to go for the rarer ones. Maybe in hindsight, I should have got more instead of going for the rarer ones. But I'm just happy to be part of the journey. So had that said, I really wanted the Heart Trooper, because I think somewhere in the Discord, I had read somebody say like the Heart Trooper is underrated. It may have been Jeremy, who knows? But I had seen that, and what I saw was like out of all the characters, like all the other traits were based on like animals or creatures that existed. But the Heart Trooper was unique in the sense that you don't look at the Heart Trooper and you like it's a blank slate as a character, right? It can be anything you want it to be. And I was like, that's where there's more storytelling potential. And as a storyteller myself, I was like, it would be, so there are two things. A, I see potential there because this is a blank slate character. You're not tied to, like a bold as fuck bat it's still related to a bat and how popular that can get. You have that phrase, but it's also popular, like how popular a bat can get. But a Heart Trooper can be anything. So I went in on that potential and I was like, that's the character.
I love that. And that's fascinating perspective. And now that you're saying that, I remember Jeremy talking about the storytelling of all, because that's a big part of his story too. As a performer, just the storytelling perspective and vantage point. So that's amazing. And you were able to get, I love the V2 that you were able to get, that evolving is out of this world cool.
Oh yeah, I was blessed to get that. Like when I was minting, I didn't even know what to expect and the evolving, but like on Firefighter Island,
it's a really sick one, and you made a really awesome hoodie with those as well. So
if I can elaborate on a little bit more
sure,
on the Heart Trooper thing, right? I still had like another long-term plan for it, which is still in the works, which is as me being a storyteller and a filmmaker myself, I thought like, hey, Gary's given me so much value in my life. If there's one character I would like to develop, it would be the Heart Trooper. And so I had like stories in my mind and how I would go about it. So that's also a long-term goal of mine. If they would be also welcome to have me, I would love to be able to develop the character of the Heart Trooper and VeeFriends in general into mainstream media and just make it a part of people's lives.
Where are you on that journey? Have you written things?
I have written things, and then I shared it with the community a little bit early on. Like I'd had a Halloween story. When Dapper Dinos was coming out, I had some of those stories. And then I kind of stepped away from it for a bit. But recently, and when I met Andy at VCon, he said they're open to seeing things like that. He said, just email me. So I wrote 5 episodes of a mini-series, and I sent it to him.
Amazing.
And I haven't gotten a response yet, but I will keep trying. And I want to keep getting better at my craft. And so the way I see it is I'm going to keep writing it as like fan fiction as long as I can, and as long as the stories come to me. And eventually, if I will try to keep getting better at my craft. And so if I can help out now, that's great. If that be later in the future, like Gary says, we might have like 55 years or more. So let's see.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll be your biggest cheerleader. I say go for it and keep on doing. And Andy said many times, and you've probably heard this too, just do it. Like just instead of saying it, just do it. Just be your creative self, and let's see what it is. Let's see what you can create. So I'm sure you're well on your way.
Yeah, trying and having fun with it. That's what's most important.
Yeah, the process, like anything else. So you get this NFT, and were you someone that kind of watched the floor and were in it every day and got into investing into other things? I know I saw that you got into the world of women and weapons, but early on, did you just catch the bug, or were you just kind of watching from the sidelines? Talk to me a little bit about your journey post May, June 2021.
Yeah, so it took 3 months of like 3 months I was like sidelined into doing and developing a VR project. So like I come back July out of it, and I notice what's happening in the space, what's going on with the VeeFriends community and things, and that's when I was more actively involved. And since then on, I have been more actively involved on a day-to-day. And I also kind of realized one part of it, which was I was able to, I did one trade, which was like I was able to buy the creatures, Danny Cole's creature NFT. I was able to buy it when Gary first tweeted about it. I kind of like shadow traded, bought it at 1 ETH, made my first flip. The next morning, it was like floor was at 2.5, so sold it for 2.5, made that first flip, and that was great. And then so I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. So I tried it again. And the thing was, this time I minted something. I was trying to sell it for like, I was a Dapper Dino like pre-reveal, and I got it. I was able to mint it at 0.08 and was able to like trying to sell it at 0.5. And the thing is, those 2 days that it took for that to sell, I was having sleepless nights. And then I'm like, okay, this kind of trading, while yes, I was successful one time, and maybe I'll be successful with this, maybe not. The thing is, when it sold, like, I wasn't happy. I was more relieved. I was like, okay, so maybe trading's not for me. I looked at the roles, and following like Punk 6529, he has like great things like, hey, there are 4 roles you could be. You're either like an investor, you're a trader. What are you in this? Or you're a creator, you're the art. What are you? And I realized I'm more of a creator and an artist in this role. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stick to that. Every now and then I would get NFTs and invest in something I like. Women and Weapons was a great project, and they have a great team going on there. So those are nice, but I'm not actively trading. Just nice collecting, investing, and then following the journey.
Thank you for sharing that, because it's not easy everyone's going through that. Not everyone is going to be killing it at investing. And a lot of people aren't sharing their losses when, in fact, especially if you factor in gas in Ethereum,
Yeah, let me be honest. Let me really honestly share a big L, and nothing against these projects. These are lovely. I talked about Creature World, and it's a great project. And I've met Danny Cole after that. And he has such a great artistic spirit. At that point, I was just looking at dollar figures and things, right? And then loved Dapper Dinos as a project, and now have a whole family ready to play their game as and when that comes out. But my biggest L was I was at a Twitter Spaces with Bobby Hundreds, and I bought Atom Bomb Squad, which is a great project. But I bought in, at 0.8 at the highest of it all, and I was like, oh, this Spaces is great. It's gonna get hyped. What are at 0.8? And literally, if you could buy the top, that was me buying the top, because that was 0.8, and then it went casually perused down, and sat at 0.2 for the longest time. And it was the first time it was a 25K project instead of a 10K project. And yeah, that I was like, okay, that's what it happens when you go on a Twitter Spaces and do no research and hype into FOMO into a project. So those are all great investing lessons.
In a way, everybody has them. I mean, if you've been in this space for longer than 2 weeks and you've been active, everyone's going to have a story, and that you learn from investing and making those mistakes. That's how you really feel, at least in my case, and the handful of people I've talked to. So the self-awareness of you saying, okay, you know what, this is my path, is something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, what is my role here, and and that's kind of one of the reasons how I landed doing this podcast, because I like to not create, but I like to document, and I like to hear stories, share stories. So I just want to encourage everyone to do what Jay just said, and just kind of think about how you fit in and do that thing. And it's okay to try something and not have it go so well, because we're not good at everything.
Yeah, 100%. We're at the cusp of two things. We're at the cusp of new technology being there, and we can take advantage of that. And I mean, there is a bit of a money factor there where you could be making money. It's a different time now where we're more in a bear market, so that optimism is not there. But it's, we're at the cusp of both, and if you can find your role. But the biggest thing is, as you said, right? It's self-awareness. It's knowing what makes you happy and doing that. I would not be happy trading and having sleepless nights. What's the point of living life like that?
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it. So you've done some invest. You mentioned that you are getting into some projects that you like. So you still are testing the waters and listening. What are some, now that you're more seasoned and maybe aren't so willing to just throw point A after a project after a couple minutes in space? What are some of the things that you're looking for now as a factor, whether you do kind of ape in or not?
So before I ape in, it has to be so I need doxed founders, right, to know who are the people running behind the project. If I align with the mission, the values, or the ethos of it all, and then the other thing would be what's my strategy going into it? Am I going into it thinking there's hype, but understanding it a bit better now, looking for, a flip. But that's not where I go. Where I go is like, can I see value in this over a long time? Like, one of the things that really interested me has been, like, say, the Wagner United, and like, I'm a big soccer fan, and they have a soccer team in like League Two that they want to get all the way up to the Premier League. Now, that is something I've done in like video games all my life. Like, played FIFA since like FIFA 9. We're in 23 now, it's going to come out next year. So to play with those little league teams or trying to get promotions, like that's long-term storytelling right there. So like that, with that, I'm invested in having that. So I was able to get one of those, but that had everything. You had the Dogs founders. I could see the mission, or I could see where it's going, and was be able to align, and that's something of interest. So that's something I look at always.
It makes a ton of sense. Did you end up getting any crypto strikers?
No. When the crypto strikers, when the boom came about, that I was traveling and away from my mint, like my computer, and I had access to it, and then I saw it just going through some ridiculous pricing, and I would only go for one guy. That would be Cristiano Ronaldo, and he's still about a little bit was out of my price range.
He's up there with Mbappe. That's one I still have on my list that I check in every now and then. I got super into soccer. Right before the NFTs, I was into soccer cards because I got back into cards through Gary, and I ended up finding that niche of soccer, and then it just kind of, as I was getting into it, it just like was exploding. People were just throwing crazy amounts of money at it. So I still have a whole lot of those. A lot I sold for NFT money, but I think.
What's the crypto striker you're going for?
I wanted that Mbappe. Human Son. I've been watching. I like him, and then I want to. I think I'm going to do a little bit more research and see what the floor is looking at while we're in this kind of place, and also pre-World Cup, because it's going to spike again.
Yeah.
So there's the alpha for you guys. Get into strikers before the World Cup.
With the cards, which was your most prized possession?
I got a whole bunch of I don't know if I'd say prized possession, but people were loving both the Ronaldo and the Messi 2014 Prisms, which was the first. They were World Cup. It was the first time Prism did soccer, so it was in Prism's like the big, one of the big brands of cards. So it was Messi and Ronaldo's first Prism. So and they were just base cards, like your regular cores, and people were spending hundreds of dollars for them. So it was for a moment in time. There's quick 5-6x if you're picking them up for $5 or for $50-$60. But and
if I'm not mistaken, that's the World Cup when Messi went to the final.
So, and then the Mbappe's, I was able to get an Mbappe, but overpaid for it, because that, he was the card to have for a while. But anyway, so maybe we need to do a soccer or a proper football.
For sure. One more thing to add to that. I'm surprised, like this summer, if he would have gone to Real Madrid and then he's there, I think that changes Mbappe's kind of like trajectory. Him staying in PSG is a bit of a different trajectory. I don't know how that goes forward, but I think the World Cup changes the game, right? It's such an inflection point in the whole soccer world.
Yeah. And one more, Topps, at the beginning, Topps was doing like these, NFTs. They're not minted, they're not on the blockchain, but it's Topps digital. They were putting out digital cards. So I bought out of 200 or like 215 or something. I got one of Haaland's rookies. I just don't know what's going to happen with it. I got it for like $400. The highest offer I've gotten was for $250. Like, we just don't know what it might just sit in the Topps app. I don't know if they'll ever put it on the blockchain. I think it's worth the hold just in case they do.
It is. I mean, I think the next 2 years for Haaland are crucial. He's joined a great team in Manchester City, as much as they're like Manchester United's rival, and I mean, I would rather have him on my team than the opponent's team. So he might have a bright future coming his
It
way.
should be exciting to watch. So I'll definitely, as I get back into it, I'll definitely be hitting you up for some football advice. So let's go to book games. Did you get excited about this? Did you buy a whole bunch of books? Did you miss it? What's your book game story?
I bought 60 books. I think I still have 4 or 5 in my hand still. But at that point, during the pandemic with like film production and any production work down, I took the chance to be a teacher at my high school. So I was teaching business at my high school. And so when the books came in, I was able to gift my students the
fantastic.
book. So it ended up, it ended up being a great thing to, and also the books, as and when like the books came in right around Christmas time, and like I was able to give it as a Christmas gift to any and all people I was working with, and that was such a, like, talk about a gift that keeps on giving. Like because I had so many, I ended up giving gifts to people that I'm kind of only acquaintances with, and they were blown away. They were floored at like this act of like, because I gift wrapped it and like I put a candy cane on it. I made it. I did a little bit of personal touch, but relationship building, and like quote unquote networking, or I like to call it more relationship building. Like it did huge things for that, and people still remembered. And so that was nice. But I was able to get into book games. So with my 60, I got 5. And then I got a couple more at like in that week when things were coming out. I got a couple more. I didn't understand. There's so many frames. I didn't understand it. But was able to get to it. And I played it to get Patient Lavas all the way to try and get the Mindful Minakawa. I've been big into like meditation and things. And like I really like when that character came out. Some characters, I don't know if this happens to you, but like when I saw that, like it spoke to me, and I was like, I have to get this. So I did everything that I could. I didn't get selected with my 5 Patience Lava into the pre-mint the lottery system, and now I have Patient Lava.
I saw that on your Twitter feed how you were going for that. Hey, Patience Lava is not a bad one to be holding.
I think really. This is the first time I've just realized this, saying it out loud to you. The wisdom is in what I'm holding.
Exactly, and that's getting so lost on a lot of people, especially during this time where people saw their value of all of their NFTs on paper get cut in half. A lot of people forgot what the characters that they're holding are saying: patience, gratitude, empathy. So it's so important to hold on to that.
It is. I think in the hype of it all, we got so caught up in the whirlwind of imagined profits that it was nice to be in that world. But now when it's kind of more of a reality check, it's a bit hard. And it's a bit hard for, some people who thought what they could do with it, wanted to take more profits, but maybe reinvest it. It is hard. So I genuinely have like empathy for that. And like, it's tough, but hopefully we keep those traits in mind and continue on. Of course.
And I think, spaces like whether it's the Good Morning or any daily space, it's a good time for that juju and to be spread, and just positive vibes and reminders like you mentioned earlier. So book games season goes, V2 comes and goes, VCon, and I saw you did some really awesome day-by-day vlogs as your natural, photographer and videographer and you and storyteller. Talk to us, what was the most surprising thing? I won't ask you how your experience was because I could tell that you had an amazing time. What was the most surprising thing about it, or the thing that you didn't expect to feel or see or do, but you did it?
I think the most surprising thing was the love and kindness I felt throughout that conference with the people. Whether it's like just walking down the streets of Minneapolis, whether it's like 2 a.m. at night once we're like done with the parties, and like for me the gathering was at Hilton, and like even though I lived in the W, even those walks, there was a 1-block walk from the Hilton to the W, met more VeeFriends, met more people in the community that way. just all the way around. Sal had a great like an evening with VeeFriends, kind of like pre-VCon kind of party, and just to see everyone there. And I had prepared I surprised myself. I prepared a trivia night, kind of like questions, because we're like, like there'll be a room of like 80 people. They've never kind of like met in person. This will get them to like interact. Didn't even need it. Absolutely didn't need it. We had more than 120 people show up. I think in the end the count was 200, and there was a party going on outside. And the great thing was that's the thing, right? The love and kindness that was kind of like that was there, and the positive vibes that people wanted to generally know you, like care. So there was a lot of that. Now, specifically within the conference, Jesse Isler's talk has still fired me up. I'm still going harder in my workouts, just with the mentality of thinking like I don't get tired, like I am strong, I can do this.
Amazing.
So that's like that big takeaway, which it's just again a feeling that you can't replicate, but I know that's the lesson I'm taking away on a daily basis. And then one of the final things that kind of like was the closing speech, right? Because at first, like we talked about, like, I thought about this as an investment. I was like, okay, I'm spending this much for 3 years worth of conferences. If I go to the first conference, I don't like it, I can sell it. Made sense. Then the floor kind of like went up way higher than mid price. Then I'm like, okay, not only is this like a ticket to a conference, this could be an investment. This could be a money-making vessel. But that closing speech kind of reminded me that this is way more than an investment or a conference ticket. We're trying to change the world here with the positive qualities that these characters embed within themselves, and to make positivity louder, and to really change the world with kindness. And once I understood that, then I was like, okay, this is way bigger than whatever I had in mind. And that blew my mind away.
Yeah, I love that. That closing, man, that closing keynote, everything about it just gave me the goosebumps. So I'm so happy you brought it up, because I don't think we can talk about it enough. And before we started recording, we were, you mentioned just talking about it with Jeremy, and just it's the first of potentially many. Like he keeps on saying 55 years, 55 years, 55 years. It's been one. So just to put that into perspective is.
Yeah. And like for people, like I saw some outside people like chiming in, and they were like, "Oh, look at this empty conference with like all these seats that are empty," and I was like, well, "You have to kind of be there, like you were there, you have to kind of be there to experience like what that was." And the empty seats were like, I feel like that was just the biggest, like that was a sign of like what's to come, because once the 3-year window is done of like what he's required to give us, which I think grew out faster than he would have expected. He can fill up the whole stadium.
And from a cinematic perspective, I mean, just that to have that stadium filling in over time is totally inevitable. Totally. Yeah, and a lot of people are pontificating about the whole 2025, like the koala, like is there a VCon that's open to everyone? Like that's the football stadium's gonna be filled, and then some. So.
Yeah. And talking about surprises, I don't know if you were surprised by this, but there was a Ferris wheel. I can't think of one good reason why there was a Ferris wheel other than just for the fun of it.
I did.
I don't know. Did you have a chance to go on the Ferris wheel at all?
Okay,
it was awesome. How was that
great.
experience?
I mean, I feel like you had to. I feel like it was a bucket list item, because why not? And then they had the cool little bit, like it was featured in Stranger Things. I don't know if you caught that sign. But yeah, no, it was great to just go up with someone, chat, get a couple great pictures. I actually saw a couple guys, Noob, like Isaiah and Dav. They were sitting like in a row by themselves, and I took some overhead shots of them that I was able to share. And yeah, it was awesome. I mean, everything about that was phenomenal. It was. Going into it, he said it was going to be like camp, which it was, because it flies by. There's all of these cool little fun activities and memories you build and relationships built in a very short amount of time, and you can't wait to go back. You stay in touch, and it's just going to be like picking up where you left off in year 2.
100%. Can't wait for VeeCon 23. But like I think what's forgotten in all of the the hype and maybe the money making cycle has just been the amount of fun like some of these things are. The Ferris wheel was so much fun. Going to the flea market, and I was able to like pick up GI Joe action figures from like my childhood that I used to play with, and I picked some up at VCon. And now I might be like, now sometimes late at night, like if I can't
looking
fall
them
asleep,
up.
I'm on eBay like looking at other GI Joe action figures, looking at this, looking at prices. It has ignited. It has really ignited like that childhood like feeling for me, and I think that's the same thing is coming back with compete and collect cards.
Yeah, like the and talking about perspective too. There were so many lines. That was a lot of the pushback. Like, you know, we had to wait in lines for everything, which is you know, true. There's only so many, you know, vendors or helpers. But in every line I waited in, I had a great conversation. I met at least 3 people and had some of the greatest conversations of that whole weekend while waiting in line for these things. So it was definitely the kind of the place, talking about community, where you could just turn to your left, turn to your right, look, turn behind you, and you have someone with at least one thing in common, and you just build on that and hear amazing stories and meet some amazing people with that often have a lot of value to give. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm trying to do some meetups here.
True, it was hard to go back into the real world after that, because it was more a case of like, oh man, I could just go and approach anyone and just say hi, and it's like, oh man, the world might not be ready for that just yet. Just have to like recalibrate that a little bit, but still kept the spirit of
you know,
that.
one thing you mentioned when talking about that keynote is, you know, it's our responsibility to spread positivity and kindness and all of that good stuff. So I wanted, and that's, I feel like in my head, it's a good segue, because you've started to do some spaces on Film3, you have a film background, and now you're kind of connecting these two worlds. And when I really started to listen to some people talk about Film3 and the potential, like my head exploded with just the potential good that this format could do, film creation, with this medium, with the power of NFTs, with the power of Web3 community. Because my head immediately goes to, and I want to give you the microphone and talk, you know, about, you're the expert here, but my head went to, this is going to empower a lot of people, documentary makers and filmmakers, to tell stories that would not ordinarily be told, because there's no funding, because they can't find the resources to get this thing going. And then, let's say they don't have, the movie doesn't get seen the way it should. But now we have this medium where you can actually make the film and then have a community backing it and pushing it to make sure it gets seen and to get airplay. So I just think it's an ultimate win-win. But I wanna give you the floor. You know, talk to me about what you're doing in Film3. I know you're getting more into it. And then, you know, what you envision or what you're working on with it.
So yeah, definitely it gives people the power, right? And I think the thing is, it's already kind of happening where the power is, even like mainstream filmmakers are getting the power taken away from them. You know, Hollywood previously, if you made something, you would make a lot more money through royalties that would be coming in when say a TV show you made or a movie that you made is re-airing on TV. Now when everything going to streaming, no one's getting royalties. You know, something like The Office that became like a cult kind of like fan favorite in like around Netflix, that is having a tough, you know, the people like Steve Carell's not making the same amount of royalties he would be making if that was, say, the Big Bang Theory playing again and again on like CBS or like, you know, TBS or wherever it's re-airing again, you know, or what Seinfeld did from years ago. They're not getting the same amount of royalties involved. So unless you are Shonda Rhimes or like A-list kind of showrunners or actors that you have specific deals with streaming services, things are not even going the way for people, for like anyone who's like not Hollywood A tier. So you can already kind of see a shift with people within the mainstream part of the industry unhappy with how things are. Then comes Film3 or like Web3 in general, that kind of like, and within that Film3 that gives power to the creators. So if you want to create something here, you can, and you will have the backing, and then you build it with the community, and people are doing it in different ways. We have a fellow V friend in our community, Greg from like Three Heads Creating, and he's doing a project where he's making a movie with people involved, and like the people decide where it's going to be filmed, what kind of movie it will be, what ending it will have, and it will be co-created together, you know. So that's a fun experience. What I'm trying to do as a creator is we had me and my filmmaking buddies, the people I went to college with at UM and University of Miami. We have been working to, like, we had a concept ready in 2016 that wasn't fully developed yet, and when we thought like, hey, we should create something in this space, we went back to like what we had, and that's like that concept is called Professional Assholes. It's just it's a series about people that you can hire. You can hire assholes to like help and do things for you, so that you don't have to go be the asshole yourself. So I hope this is not
we're good.
PG rated podcast, because great. So like, hey man, if your neighbor has been annoying and you want to get back, you hire the professional assholes to do that for you. You don't like you want to break up with someone, don't want to deal with the trauma, hire them, they'll do it for you. You want to be woke and don't want to go to a protest yourself, you can hire them, they'll go there, take pictures, they'll send you the stories, you'll look great on Instagram. Whatever it is that you want to do, these are the people for you. So we had this, and we had this concept, but before it was purely a comedy. And now, over the years, I've learned how to create three-dimensional characters and create character depth. So now it's that, but with vulnerabilities. These are characters that are confident to be assholes, but have insecurities within themselves. And how do they go about doing those? So that's the show kind of like we're looking to create. And we're looking to create it like with NFTs that way. And our thing is, it's not going to be like, it's like, I've seen projects come in and be like glorified GoFundMes, which is like, if you would have done it with GoFundMe, now you're just doing it with NFTs. We want to take the power of the technology itself. So like raise the curtain behind filmmaking, of what it takes to actually make it, from like taking black and white script pages to like making the whole thing, and take people with us. So there can be like, one of the things we want to do is token gated streaming, like behind the scenes. So you can see us filming, only if you have like the token, and those services are also available. Like there's a platform called Beam that only if you have a token can you watch something, or can you join into a live stream, and like you have to sign in with your wallet to go do it. So say if Gary wants to like show us something that's only to the VeeFriends world, you can use a platform. Like say if he wants to preview the next video before it goes out, you can sign in with your VeeFriends and then watch it, and then you can preview it before it goes out to the real world. So there are a lot of great solutions going on. I'm trying to create something myself there, and just looking to see the innovation grow and try to like I said, like find my role as the creator and try and
do you have people in your film circles, whether from school or maybe people that you met at the on the award circuit, that are asking you about this, like, hey, what's this NFT thing about?
A little bit, right? So I had my best friend and my co-producer that I worked with, and we've been making movies together since 2016. Shout out to him, Vishy Sakul. He's a fellow VeeFriend holder, and got him on board into NFTs, and then like now trying to like do something filmmaking, because we were trying to do it the traditional way and we're struggling with it that way. So we're still in like figuring out artwork and just getting sure our ducks are lined up. But then other than that, some people are interested. Some people want to know more. I had my professor from like back in my university days. He's like 67. He's like, I'm too old for this. You guys do it, So some people are not interested, and some people genuinely want to like learn more and are interested. So it's a variety of things, and hopefully, we're able to educate them. And
I just can't imagine I just know how hard it is for a movie to get made. I just couldn't imagine any reason why someone wouldn't want to. I mean, the majority of the people, the 98% that can't just walk into, Paramount or wherever and get a movie made. So I guess it's just a matter of education and time, education, and good ambassadors to Web3 to be sharing this with the film world.
Yeah, and I had a friend recently who like had some ideas, and I found of a Web3 company that's offering a grant, like a 10K grant for anyone who wants to like make films related with like in cohesion with NFTs, use the Web3 world and technology. And she had surface level knowledge, maybe of like cryptos, nothing of like NFTs, but was able to take it, write like a love story about like a metaverse script and submit it. And, you know, like she gave me like, had a chance to like read it and give them some notes before submitting. But, you know, great to see, like, you know, you let someone know about an opportunity, and great to see someone like take that opportunity by its neck and run with it.
Amazing.
So, the opportunity definitely is there.
Community is so big, and just the idea of being able to financially support and be on the marketing team of a film or a director or a, you know, creator is fascinating to me, and something that just makes so much sense. So with that community, you know, we've been talking a lot about VCon and just, you know, the Discord and the clubhouses and the spaces and everything. What does the word community mean to you, and why do you spend, you know, your most precious asset, time, in the VeeFriends community?
So community, at least what I don't know about the definition of community as a word, but I'll tell you like as a feeling of what I feel, right? And the VeeFriends community to me feels very supportive, very very helpful in ways. Like I've been able to turn to the community and ask for like how certain things are done, and people are very helpful that way, and very giving of like not only their time but also their knowledge of how things are done. And those have just been great to have, and it's like, you know, it's now become a digital home, or like, you know, the memories made us like at VCon and things. So it's just it's a network of support, of knowledge, and yeah, I think you know, we gravitate towards where like I feel love in the community, and so that's why I keep giving my time to it.
Favorite character? Usually I'll save this for the end, but is it the Heart Trooper or the Minakawa? So you're still with the Heart Trooper.
Heart Trooper. Heart Trooper.
Okay, so you have a nice top three going. Amazing. So who, or what character should I say? What character do you feel like you need to spend more time with?
The mindful Minakawa. Just need to be. We're so plugged into Discord and Twitter sometimes. Just got to be mindful about everything else. Maybe eat a bit more healthy.
The self-awareness coming out of you has just been woven through this whole thing. Jay, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Before we head into our last segment, I just want to give you, well, first of all, I want to thank you. I know you're a super busy guy, have so much going on, so thank you for being on, supporting in this project, and listening, and the feedback that you've given. I'm so grateful for, so thank you. I know you started your own space Sunday nights. What I learned in NFTs for that week, which is a fantastic concept. I love it. So correct me if I'm wrong, you just have a couple different topics or things, learnings that you share on Sundays at 10 Eastern time?
Yeah, I Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. What I learned also at VCon, other than just everything else, has been how much I don't know. How much I don't know about other projects. I went to NFT NYC itself and don't know about like other communities, and just about other chains, even like other blockchains. So since then, I have made like a commitment to learning. Like I was always curious and was ready to like learn new things. And I realized after having spent 1 year in the space that maybe I assumed everyone knew certain things. And I kind of realized that they don't. And I was like, okay, how about I learn in public? So over the week, I come across articles, news, whether it's something in spaces, whatever I learn, I take that in, I write that down. And it forces me to sometimes, there's times when I'm lazy and I like to procrastinate. So I'll find a great article and I'll hit bookmark and I'll like, it's saved. I'm going to get to it later. Never did. You know, if you just look at my list of like bookmarked articles on Facebook, it is insane. Anyways, this forces me to read those articles and have something to share on my weekly podcast, and I'm now going to call it Three Things I Learned in Web3 this week. Three things I learned about these. So I'm going to go through a little rebranding. I feel like three was rule of triplicity from theater and film and acting days, and it's just like I feel like we can. Our brain as humans, our brains can take three things really well. More than that, it gets a bit much. And so the idea is for whatever I learn to share with the people, so that we can, I can keep them informed, safe, because sometimes security is big. And in a constant state of learning. And sometimes after that, even though the way that Spaces works is I share what I've learned, and then I open the floor and everyone shares like what they've learned or ask follow-up questions.
It's very powerful.
So it's been a great experience to do that.
I commend you for doing that. Amazing. And, I was looking back on June 11th. We're recording this on August 1st. On June 11th, you said, doing my first ever Spaces 24 hours from now, set your reminder. And that's not even 2 months ago. And here you are, you're filling in for a daily space. For Good Morning VeeFriends, you're doing Film3, and now you're doing this. So you're just rocking it. You're rocking the Spaces scene.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, I already felt it whatever that Saturday was at VCon, that, I think I need to do more about education, or I can do, because if I'm a creator in this space, what can you do? Educate and entertain. I was like, okay, I've been a teacher once. So I know how to educate a little bit. Been a storyteller, I can entertain. So that's the formula. Okay, that's what I'm going to try and do: educate and entertain. And so this is that education tab, trying to do that and make that happen. And there's so much more to do, to turn those into podcasts, or write written copy with it. There's so much more that's in the to-do list of it. But normally those things would really bog me down, and unless it was perfect, I wouldn't do it. I am leaving the perfect peninsula behind and just starting by doing. So I've done a few spaces. Hopefully in the coming weeks, I can create a system where that content is available in different formats.
I'm sure you'll get there because you're doing a great job with everything else. So if you guys don't follow Jay, at JAYDEVH20 on Twitter, and I'll link up all your stuff here in the show notes. But I can't thank you enough. Just wanted to do one more segment. If you're familiar with the show, you've heard it, micro, macro, spitfire. So I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions, a short macro answer, one yes, no, or you can take out the microscope and get super specific about it. So here we go. Someone that needs to be followed in the VeeFriends community if they're just getting in for the first time.
Jeremy, Sal.
Favorite teacher you've had and one reason why.
One of my favorites, my history teacher, his name was Mr. Newton. That. He said, shine your light up.
The Time Machine Tiny Ogre book game can be traded for what?
Three VeeFriends.
VeeCon 2023 will be in which city? What's your favorite movie?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What are your buzz?
Toy Story.
I love that. I love that.
But love the friendship. And Toy Story 4 is not canon.
Is there a secret talent you have that most people don't know about?
I can do a really good rock impression.
Let's see it.
And raise my eyebrows And for the people listening at home in their audio formats, if you smell what Jay is cooking on Twitter.
You got to do it. That's got to be a promo. I'll cut it up. You have the editing skills, so that's amazing. Were you a WWF or WWE guy growing up?
Yeah, growing up for a long time I was, then stepped away from it, and
amazing.
Kind of fell back.
I kind of teetered off a bit more in high school, but I was all about it. Oh man, that's another. We have a lot more to talk about. If you had to get rid of all of your social media profiles but only keep one, what are you keeping? Wine, beer, or coffee?
Coffee.
I saw that.
literally had a show called Coffee with It.
I saw that. Are you going to keep
This
on
is where I
doing
like
that?
hosting. I might.
Gotcha. It seemed
It's a
like
bit hard.
you put a
I'm
lot of
spending more time
post-production
on
work in
Spaces
there.
now. Yeah, and it for me to like I put in like it was a passion project, so I put in a lot of my personal investment and like a lot of time into it. If I were to do it again, I need to like refigure out some of those.
Amazing. Well, I'll be a subscriber if you do. Paper hands pony or the koala? Gratitude gorilla or patient pig?
Koala.
Would you rather have a 2-hour
Gratitude
group
gorilla.
dinner access with Gary, you, and 9 other people, or a 10-minute one-on-one?
I'll take the 10-minute one-on-one.
And
I need
if
to get
he
that
says,
off
all
my
right, Jay,
list
you
first.
can ask me one question, I have to answer it. What are you asking Gary V?
And I make my heart
Amazing.
cook TV show for you.
Well, I hope you keep on working on that passion project and all of your others, and I'm sure we are going to be hearing more from you, my friend. I can't thank you enough for supporting the podcast and being on, and yeah, can't wait to stay connected.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Perfect.
having this, and thank you for
Have a good one,
having
buddy.
me on here. It's a pleasure.
Perfect.
Thank you. You too.